Good morning, everybody. It's afternoon now. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. This week marks 3 years since the passing of the Sassoon children. Those children are illuminating and blessing every movement in this holy building. The best way I can memorialize these perfect neshamot today is by sharing my gratitude for their mother, my friend Gail. Gail was, of course, responsible for every perfect fiber of their being, and in true Gail Sassoon form, she gives them all the credit of how super special they were. Today, Gail has become the source of inspiration for so many people in this community and abroad, and I am on the top of that list of those who are inspired by her strength, her resolve, and determination to make this place and all of her actions a Kiddush Hashem. This week is tougher than usual. As mindful as she is, she has an indefatigable energy to do good, here at the well and beyond. That in itself is inspirational. I can't keep up. She's directing every movement in this building during the day. She's teaching girls here at night. Her pastime is visiting Holocaust survivors. And when she wants to thank someone, you'll never find a thank you text. You'll always find a beautifully handwritten letter from Gail to show her appreciation. With that, her first priority remains true. Her daughter Sipora, who I love. Where are you? Not here. Okay. You're here. And should have the most wonderful life and give her family lots of nachat is Gail's true treasure. I can honestly say that Gail is busy making the world a better place until Mashiach comes. Gail, we thank you for that. So before Gail makes me sit down, because I'm talking too much about her, I will move on to someone else for whom I am grateful. This week, Rabbi Sutton honored us by recording a short video for the well to promote today's event. When he found out that he was on Instagram for the first time ever, he called me, and while I probably should have gotten a stern remark, he said that had he known, he would have worn a different tie. Rabbi Sutton is the most unassuming, yet one of the most powerful rabbis in this community. Aside from his words of wisdom and the volumes of brilliant books that he's published, I know that Rabbi Sutton has tremendous faith in this community. He is constantly pushing people to reach goals that they themselves don't think they can reach. Over the years, he has been proving himself right. You can see visible changes in people, massive movement to his credit. When he was asked to speak today about Pesach, and we discussed this very important yortzeit, he immediately connected the dots. He's been working on a Haggadah sidekick, which he is generously giving out today. He's made the first copies, the well version, in honor of Gail and Sipora, and in memory of the Sassoon children. This is something that Rabbi didn't have to do, and we're so grateful that he did. I would imagine we're all knee-deep in cooking, cleaning, packing for Passover, planning. It's hard for women to get into the mindset for the reason we have this Chag. I look forward to getting into that mindset. Ladies, Rabbi David Sutton.
Okay. It's just interesting that two of my favorite people, Michael Jamal and Ronnie Ajmi, it's nice to see their sisters so active as well on this side of town. Before I give this class, I have a problem. The problem is that I don't really know the crowd. I don't know how smart you are. I don't know your level of learning. I don't know anything about you. So I decided I want to do a short test. I'll give you a memory test to see your ability to retain. And then that way, I'll have an idea of what we're dealing with. So what I'm going to do is I have a list of letters and numbers, and I'm going to read them to you. And afterwards, I'm going to ask to see how many of them you can repeat back to me, okay? Here we go. Everyone's listening? No writing. Yeah, just listen, okay? Okay. R91, A76, B74, D23, A58, D71, I86, D77, J57, S64, U84, T54, T26, O03, and N86. Can anyone repeat that back to me, please? What? Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you now. I'm going to write them all on the board. You ready? Here we go.
Oh, they spell something in
917-674-2358. 718-677-5764. 845-426-0386. That's my cell phone, my home number, my number when I was a kid in Muncie. R.A.B. Rabbi David J. Sutton. Those were all the numbers, and I memorized it, and nobody here could repeat it to me. What's wrong with you people? So how do I have such a phenomenal memory and no one else could do it? The answer is that if you just have information that's scattered around and it has no meaning, you can't remember it. But everyone can remember 3 phone numbers. That's a concept in how your mind works. It's called chunking, and you have to have familiarity. 917 is easy. I'm sure most people, if they say 917-674-2358 3 times, they could repeat my phone number back to me. And the rest, maybe yes, maybe no. So that's the concept. If you're just overwhelmed with information and don't know what it means and what it says, you can't remember it. Is there an eraser in the room? Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's our first introductory point. What does that have to do with our class on Pesach? What has to do with the class on Pesach is Magid, which is what we're going to be talking about. It's a positive commandment once a year to tell over the story of Passover. Ladies do not have a responsibility to say Kriyat Shema. Men do. Men have to remember the fact that we got out of Egypt twice a day. And ladies do not. It's a time-bound mitzvah. Ladies do have to tell over the story or hear the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, getting out of Egypt, once a year on the night of Pesach. It is the most important night of the year. We don't have any other night that has this commandment. And we'd like to discuss what are the takeaways. You could spend you're spending all this time cleaning and preparing, and the highlight is that night. And what's the takeaway from the night? The most important part of the night is Magid, which means the story. So we're going to tell the story. What do we take away from the story? Most people read it in a tune, which is nice. They'll finish it, and they said everything, and on to the meal. You ate your matzah, that's good. You ate your maror, that's good. You dipped everything, you dipped in the charos, so you did what you're supposed to do. But the next day, the day after, what did you get out of that story? What are you supposed to get out of that story? What are the parts of the Haggadah that is supposed to tell you these key points? So I'm going to try in the short time that we have to give you some takeaways and some points that you're supposed to walk away from the Seder. Ideally, you'll take these little Haggadahs home with you. You could look at them now. We may refer to some pages here and there.
Them through it or take them home?
I don't know. Do people want to refer to it? It could be distracting. Yeah, maybe we'll leave it here, and we'll try to. Does this thing work? How does this thing work? This is a recorder? This is the recorder. How do you move those things? Clicker. Okay, fine. Well, I don't know if we'll use it or not. It looks good on the board anyway. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. So, we're going to... So what are the 2 main takeaways at the night? What are we working on? So basically we're going to want to walk away with 2 things. Number 1 is called emunah, faith. We are supposed to strengthen our faith on the night of the Seder. That means after the Seder is finished, you're supposed to have more faith than you had before it started. That's what the main takeaway is. The main takeaway is my belief becomes stronger. The source for all of our belief comes from the night of the Seder. That means we as Jewish people have certain fundamental beliefs. Where do we get these beliefs from? These beliefs come from God taking us out of Egypt. So if we want to be a Jewish person who has solid faith and solid belief in God, which is a very important trait, we need to get it from somewhere. Where's the somewhere it's coming from? It's coming from the night of the Seder. So that's number 1. We have to walk away with a stronger belief. Number 2 is called hakarat hatov, gratitude. You have to walk away from the Seder feeling thankful to God. Those are the 2 main points. So if at midnight, on the night of the Seder, you take your pulse and you feel, I believe more than I did before, I'm more grateful than I was before, we accomplished on the night of the Seder. That is the accomplishment. You have to know what are you trying to get out of it. And all of it lies in this little booklet over here. This pamphlet is going to tell you everything that you have to know in order to get there. Ideally, we go through every single page. Too tedious for now. So we're going to try to say some key points and key takeaways. So what is our faith that we're going to receive on the night of the Seder? Before we get there, the first of the 10 commandments is, I am Hashem your God, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher hotzeiticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am Hashem your God that took you out of Egypt. And the question is, why is that God took us out of Egypt? Why didn't God introduce himself as, I am the God that created the world? He created the world. Isn't that a great feat? He made all the people and all the mountains and all the rivers and all the animals and all the fish. Why isn't that the main accomplishment? Because creating the world is not enough. He could have created the world and just left the world to be. In order to be a real believer, our rabbis tell us, it's not enough to say, I believe in God. That's not enough. You have to say, I believe in God who took us out of Egypt. That's the God we believe in. I believe in God is not enough. I believe in God who took us out of Egypt. And the fundamentals of our religion are taught to us with the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. I want to be the person whose phone is not off. So, how do we do that? Yeah. How do we do that? So let's just take one plague, and we'll show you how telling over the story of one plague will give you or your family the fundamentals in faith. What are the 3 Jewish fundamentals in faith? There are 13 principles, but there are 3 main principles. Number 1 is God created the world. And not enough that he created the world, but since he created the world something from nothing, he's still pumping energy into the world now. If you're seeing now, you're not seeing because God made you, created you when you were a child. Right now, he's allowing you to see. Every single morning when you say Birkot HaShachar, you say Pokeach Ivrim. God makes people see. Not in the past, but in the present. So God created the world, and he's constantly pumping energy into the world. That's fundamental number 1. Fundamental number 2 is, he sees everything that happens. There's nothing that he doesn't see, and he rewards and punishes. That's the second principle. And the third one is, God communicates to people. You believe those 3 things? That's all you got to believe. God created the world and is still pumping energy into the world. He's watching over everything that happens every single second, and when you do something good, he rewards you, and the opposite if you don't. And God communicates with people. How do I know that to be true? Who told me God is still pumping energy into the world? Who told me that God rewards and punishes? Who told me that God talks to people? So we're now going to demonstrate it. If you have a glass of water, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, this glass of water is going to turn into blood. How do you know that God spoke to Moshe? Because he said it's going to turn into blood, and then it turned into blood. Proof number 1, God talks to people. Number 2, the only one that could take water and not just change the color of the water, but change the makeup of the water from water to blood is the one that right now is pumping the energy into the water. The water is water now because he said it should be water. And if he decides for it to be blood, it will be blood. So that means God created the world and is continuing to pump energy into the world. And number 3 is reward and punishment. The Jew puts his straw into the cup and it's water. The Egyptian puts the straw in the cup and it's blood. The same thing could be water for one person and blood for the other person. I'm watching over everything you do down to the glass of water that you're drinking. If you pick up a glass of water, you see this over here? This is vitamin water zero. Now, there's different flavors and colors of vitamin water zero. I don't like drinking water. I don't know why. I only drink vitamin water, and I like to be healthy, so I drink vitamin water zero. There's different colors. There's many different colors. There's blueberry, which is dark. There happens to be strawberry lemonade, a light pink color. Now, it's hashgacha pratit. I don't think Paula Towel decided I'm choosing pink today because it matches with the well. But this is all exactly destined that I'm going to be standing here with this pink little bowl and the pink logo, and I'm drinking pink vitamin water. It's ridiculous. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this was not planned. Like, Paula, are you here, Paula? Is Paula Towel here? Did you plan that it should be pink because it matches the well? No. So Paul did not plan this. But that, you have to believe that. This glass of water is pink because we're in the well today and it matches the doors. That's why this is pink now. For real. These are not jokes, these are real. Every little detail in our life is being watched by God at all times. How do you know that? When you tell the story over at the Seder, you're supposed to walk out with that feeling. And it's upon the teller of the story to use vivid examples. I have one of my favorite stories about my wife. She asked me if she should come today. I said, no, you cannot come today. You can't come today. So she was in Paperific on Coney Island Avenue, and she had a list of ingredients that she needed for shopping. It was Passover time. It was this time of the year a few years ago. And she had, the 4 different things that she needed, and she's over 50. So she forgot one of the things that she needed. So she's standing online, and she says, I know I'm going to get home, I'm going to look at the recipe, and I'm going to have to come back and get parking again, but okay, I forgot. Okay, so she's about to check out, and the guy announces on the loudspeaker, Jose, kosher salt needed in aisle 3. That's what I needed, kosher salt. That means God reads your mind. He knows what you're thinking. He knows what you need every second of the day. We need that as people to survive. How do we know that? How do your children know that? Where do you get that from? The night of the Seder. That means our source, our well for all our emunah comes from the night of the Seder. Because, another important rule, we don't go through 5,700 plus years of time. Our rabbis tell us there's one tunnel of time that's a year long, 354 days, and we keep on going through that same tunnel. And we come to the 15th of Nisan, it's the same exact day as it was then. And just like they received such strength and faith on that night when God took them out of Egypt, that same faith we can get in our lives on that night. Because God no longer performs open miracles. He doesn't do open miracles anymore. He performs hidden miracles. And our job is that the open miracles that we tell our children about will give us the faith that not only does God do open miracles, but he does hidden miracles. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter tells this following story told about him. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was the leading rabbi of the Musar movement. He was a great man, and he was visiting in a certain motel. And he had frequented this motel for many years, and he noticed that the hotel owner, who was a religious man, was laxing off on his mitzvot. He was drinking water without making a beracha, for example. And he was astounded. He says, what's going on over here? What happened to you? And he says, there was an atheist that came to my motel, and he was eating without a beracha, and he wasn't praying shachrit. And I said, what's wrong with you? And he said, I don't believe in God. You don't believe in God? No, I don't believe in God. He says, if there's a God, I'm going to eat something without a beracha and let him strike me with lightning. And he ate it, and nothing happened. So I got so confused that my emunah is shaken. Okay. So the rabbi doesn't answer him immediately. He continues the conversation. And he says, he's talking, how's your family doing? He says, my daughter just graduated from music school, and she's an expert piano player. Very nice, okay. The rabbi keeps that in his mind. He's walking in the motel that night, and he meets the girl. I'm exaggerating a little. I don't think the rabbi said this exactly. But he meets the girl and says, oh, your father told me that you play the piano. He says, yes. He says, I don't think you can play the piano. You have chubby fingers. You can't play the piano. I can't play the piano. No, you don't think you can play the piano. The rabbi says, I want you to play the piano. I want you to show me that you know how to play the piano. I'm not playing the piano for you. And she walked out. And she tells her father, what's with the rabbi? He insulted me? He asked me to play the piano? I'm not playing the piano for him. So the hotel owner goes to the rabbi and says, what's going on? What happened? He says, I don't know. Your daughter won't play the piano for me. What do you mean? You insulted her. She doesn't have to play the piano for every person that comes over and says, prove to me that you know how to play the piano. She says, aha. Do you hear what you're saying? How do I know? She has a diploma on the wall. She doesn't have to play for every clown. So the rabbi said, God has a diploma. He proved himself when he took us out of Egypt. He doesn't have to play the piano for everyone that demands him to play the piano. So if we want to know what God can do, we have to tell over those stories of Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's what God can do. And it's not enough just to tell over the story, but like we said, you have to tell over the story So much so, there's a line in the Haggadah Shel Pesach that says the following. You probably remember it. B'chol dor vador. In every generation, chayav adam, a person has a responsibility, leharot et atzmo, to show himself, ki'ilu hu yatsa mitzrayim. The Sfaradi Haggadah and the Ashkenazi Haggadah are almost identical. There's one letter difference. Ashkenazim have the word chayav adam lirot et atzmo. You have to view yourself. Our text is chayav adam leharot et atzmo. He has to show himself. That's the source for our custom, that we put the sack on our back and we say, Mishad Otam, where'd you come from? I came from Mitzrayim. Where are you going to? I'm going to Yerushalayim. What's your job? What's your provisions? Matzah maror. We have to act it out because you have to feel like you got out of Egypt. Why do you have to feel like you got out of Egypt? Tell the story. What's the responsibility that you have to feel like you got out of Egypt? And I didn't get out of Egypt. Another important line. Again, I'm not going to be overly tedious, but I do suggest take these pamphlets. They were made for you. The one thing that I didn't follow instructions on, the graphic artist refused to put pink in the middle of the orange background. I asked her to. We sent her the colors. Kim, on her wedding day, she's putting her makeup on, and she's emailing me the pink color for the back, but the graphic artist says it clashes. She didn't want to put it in. So a person has to show himself. Why does he have to show himself? Why isn't it enough to say, a story happened to my ancestors many, many years ago? And we say, at the opening of Avadim Hayinu, and we say, and if God didn't take us out of Egypt, our fathers and forefathers, we and our children's children, would have remained subservient to Paro in Egypt. Why do I have to say that? I have to tell the story as if I got out. It means I'm telling the story, I'm telling to my kids, you can't believe what just happened. The water turned into blood. That's the way you have to say it. Not it happened 5,700, year 244 out, 8. It really just happened. The water turned into blood. Why do I have to make it like it happened to me? The Chafetz Chaim tells the following law. It's not a halakha class, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, just because we need it for the mashal. If a person has a tea bag on Shabbat, the tea leaves are not cooked. If you take hot water and you put it into the first cup, this cup is called the kli sheni. The pot is called the first pot, the first utensil. The cup is the second one. It still cooks. You pour into a third cup, it's called a kli shlishi, and it doesn't cook. You put it in there, it's getting warmed, it's not getting cooked. Because in order for something to cook, even the second cup doesn't cook everything. If you put a piece of meat into the second cup, it'll cook tea leaves, because tea leaves are called easily cooked. But most things need to be cooked on the fire with a bubbling flame under them. So the Chafetz Chaim said the following rule. If you want to inculcate something into your children, so to say you want to cook them, you want to get them to get the feeling, if you're a kli rishon, if you're bubbling, you can make other things cook. If you're a kli sheni, if it's a secondary, I know the story because my father told me the story, you're already a secondary cup. Some people you could, some people you can't. If I know the story because my father told me the story or heard it from his grandfather, you can't do anything for the next generation. You can't do anything because you're already a kli shlishi. You don't have anything on your own. You don't feel anything on your own. So therefore, in order to give over faith, you have to feel the faith. And again, where do you get it from? You get it from this night, from telling over the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. The second point that we said that you have to come out with, if we really feel that we got out, we have to come out to the point of Hakarat HaTov. Hakarat HaTov means I'm thankful to God. Everything I have is from God. And therefore, I'm going to feel at the end of the Seder how thankful am I? Very good. Very good. I have open over here, right here, page 46. That's why Rabbanit Yehudit says we say Dayenu. We say Dayenu means God took us, there's 15 things that we list. And again, with the beauty of this Haggadah, if you look at it, everything is numbered and it's structured. 1, 2, 3, there's 15 things that God did for us. And on the night of the Seder, we have to contemplate. He brought us out of Egypt. He executed judgments against the Egyptians. He acted against their gods. He slew their firstborn. He gave us their wealth. He split the sea. He led us on dry land. He drowned our oppressors. He provided for our needs in the desert 40 years. He fed us the man. He gave us Shabbat. He brought us to Har Sinai. He gave us the Torah. He brought us to Eretz Yisrael. And he gave us the Beit HaMikdash. Those are 15 mouthfuls of favors. And we have to not just run through. We have to stop and chew on it and contemplate how much I owe God, how much we owe God. That's the feeling. That's the second important takeaway. So takeaway number one is emunah. My faith has to become stronger. Takeaway number two is my hakarat hatov has to be stronger. And I want to talk about faith for a moment. There is a little story in the Haggadah that says, Ma'aseh. So I think it's the only part there's a story. Ma'aseh, there was a story with 5 rabbis. Ma'aseh, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Tarfon. They were all together one night telling over the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's like you have all the great rabbis of the generation together in one room. Rarely have that. I don't think it happens. You have 5, think of the 5 greatest rabbis in the generation. One lives in Jerusalem, one lives in Bnei Brak, one lives in Brooklyn. They're all over the place, and somehow they're all 5 together in that room on that night telling over the story. And they stayed up all night. Why were they all together? What was the reason they were all together? What brought them here? And I once saw a very, very insightful explanation on what brought these rabbis together that night. There's 2 stories told in the Gemara Masechet Makot. Could be you heard them, could be you didn't. We usually tell it over in the time of Tisha B'Av. Rabbi Akiva is walking with these same 4 rabbis. 2 stories with these same group of rabbis. Rabbi Akiva is walking, and they hear the celebrations of the Romans. The Romans had destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, and they hear Romans celebrating. And the rabbis, the 4 rabbis, start to cry. And Rabbi Akiva, what does he do? He starts to laugh. And the rabbis ask Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? Rabbi Akiva says, why are you crying? And the 4 rabbis says, why are we crying? These Romans destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, and they're celebrating, they're partying, and our Beit HaMikdash is in ruins. So Rabbi Akiva says, that's why I'm laughing. If this is how God treats the sinners, if God is so benevolent and kind that he lets the sinners enjoy life, imagine what's going to happen to us. Story number 1. Story number 2, they're walking towards Temple Mount, and what do they see? They see a fox running out of Temple Mount. And again, the 4 rabbis start to cry. And Rabbi Akiva starts to laugh. And again, they say, Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? And he says, why are you crying? He says, why are we crying? The Holy of Holies, where it says that if someone enters there, he gets the death penalty, and now foxes are going there, and we shouldn't cry? And he says, no, that's why I'm laughing. If we hit such a low, and the prophet says that Mount Zion is going to turn into a forest, then I know we're going to pull out of it, we're going to reach the heights. And they said to him, Akiva nichamtanu. Akiva, you gave us comfort. Akiva nichamtanu, you gave us comfort. You gave us the ability to look at things in a different way, in a different perspective. Says the rabbi called Aruch HaShulchan. Listen to this fascinating thing. It says, after these rabbis were blown away by Rabbi Akiva, they said, where did he get this from? Where did he get such faith from? You know where he got it from? From his Seder. I want to be at this rabbi's Seder. So all 4 rabbis came from all the corners of the world and said, we want to hear this rabbi, because this rabbi is invincible. He takes on every challenge. He's the same rabbi who lost 24,000 students. And what did he do? He picked up and he rebuilt. With a small group of 5 students, he rebuilt. And right after the Seder, we start the Omer. The 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva that passed away in that time period. And what gave Rabbi Akiva the ability to withstand those challenges? The emunah that he got from the night of the Seder. And I feel that same way when I'm sitting here in the room with Gail and Sipora. They are the Rabbi Akiva of our generation. They have undaunted faith, and they're able to go and continue on after 24,000 students pass away, pick up whatever they can, and continue on and spread the Torah. And the 5 students Rabbi Akiva had, everything that we have today in our Torah comes from those 5 students. And I wish and I hope that so much blessing is going to come out of Gail and Sipporah. It's going to fill the world with the Torah that they're bringing about. And I would tell everyone in this room, if they could, find out where Gail's having her seder and say, I want to be at her seder. I'm going to leave my family for one night. I want to watch how Gail makes the seder. That is what the seder is supposed to do for us. A highlight of the seder, by then everyone's already going and saying the rice is getting dry. It's called Arami Oved Avi. That's the highlight of the seder, is on page 26 of this pamphlet. We start quoting 4 verses that discuss the Exodus in the shortest possible way. There are 4 verses that are brought in Kitavo that tell us the shortest version of Yetziat Mitzrayim. You want to come to the Torah Center tomorrow? Am I allowed to advertise the Torah Center in the well? Yes. So on 1036 Ocean Park, we have a Torah Center, and I'm going to be giving the class tomorrow a little bit more in depth because those ladies are a little bit more studious. They're very studious ladies. They come every week, they take notes, and they're very studious ladies. So, the first pasuk starts off and talks about an Aramean attempted to destroy my father. Who's that? Lavan ha'arami. Yaakov Avinu had a father-in-law, Lavan, that tried to wipe him out. He tried to kill him. He chased him and tried to kill him. He swindled him. He worked 7 years for his first wife. Then the second wife, he switched him. He switched his wages. What does that have to do with the story? We're talking about getting out of Egypt. Why do we start off with Lavan? And our rabbis tell us, because we learn a very special lesson from the story of Yaakov and Lavan. Yaakov came in a pauper. Esav's grandson took everything they had. He was a pauper. He didn't have a dollar to his name. He was wanted to marry and had one wife. God had different plans. Instead of one wife, he had 4 wives. He had 12 children. He walked out a multimillionaire. He was the wealthiest man in the world. God is able to take trying and challenging situations and turn them around. And that's one of the messages of the night of the Seder. That Lavan tried to destroy us. And everything that he did to destroy us ended up making us stronger. I want to tell you 2 stories that have this important lesson, which is basically, it ain't over till it's over. Famous saying from Yogi Berra. It ain't over till it's over. We're always in the middle of the story, and therefore we don't have the full picture. The story is told by the Chafetz Chaim. It's a mashal. There was a man who was the local misader in his shul. That means the misader, he's the man that gives out the aliyot. There's a happy occasion, and his job is to make sure the chatan gets an aliyah, and his grandfather gets an aliyah, and the brother-in-law gets the aliyah, and this one gets this, and that's his job. It's a hard job. Sometimes you have 3 different occasions in the shul. You got to make everyone happy. You forget a guy. It's his yard side. It's his thing. Who's getting what? Very difficult job. And he did a good job at it. By the way, Ronnie actually does that job in our shul. So, it's a difficult job. And this man goes to another town, and he's watching what's going on. What would he do? He's in the back. He's sitting in the back. He's a guest. He's watching. And he's thinking, who would I give the opening of the ark to? Who would I give this to? Who would I give that to? And he has all the plans in his mind, what he would do. And it turns out that nothing that he planned happened. And he goes over to the fellow that's in charge and says, I don't understand what you're doing. He says, you gave a guy the most important aliyah, the guy could hardly hold his siddur. I would have given it to that person over there. And this person, he's giving all his suggestions. And the fellow that's actually giving out the honors says, how long are you in this city for? So I'm just here for the weekend. Oh, you're here for the weekend. Were you here last week? Do you know that these 3 people got last week? No, I'm not here. Are you going to be here next week? And you know these 3 people? No, I'm not going to be here next week either. I'm just here for this weekend. Well, you're here for this weekend. You can't understand what's going on. That says the Chafetz Chaim is our life. We're here for 70 years. We're here for a weekend. God is running this for 5,700 years. We don't know what happened last week. We don't know what's happening next week. We're just stuck in the middle of a clip, and we don't understand what's going to happen. I still remember as a kid, I wasn't born a rabbi. I was born a rabbi. My cousin is Seal Hopper in the background over here. My father and her father were brothers, so I could look like her. So I wasn't raised as a rabbi. And I used to watch Batman as a kid. And when Batman was over, so it's always had come back at same bat time, same bat channel. Okay? And one of the things that stick in my head, this is why television is so stupid, it sticks in my head, I can never get it out of this. Batman is on this log, he's tied to this log, and it's going towards the log cutter that cuts the logs in half. And he's going towards the sawmill, the Joker's laughing, and it stops. Same bat time, same bat channel. You want to go to sleep that night, right? This is how you're going to sleep that night. If you want to know, all the different things that are going on inside of me, I have a lot of trauma from those Batman stories. Now, if you're an adult, you say, calm down. Batman's not going to die. It's okay. It's the middle of the show. It's not over yet. We're a bunch of children watching as Batman's going towards the things. Oh, no! He's not going. Batman's fine. The Jewish people, we're Batman. We're going to be fine. Now, we might be stuck in a temporary frame that doesn't look promising. We don't understand what's going on. That's because we have limited vision. That is a lesson of the Haggadah Shel Pesach. That is the lesson of Arami Oved Avi. Lavan Harami tried to wipe out my forefather. But when we got to the end of the story, it was a happy ending. Story number 2. Story number 2. There were 2 beggars that were collecting. One of them was a Jew, one of them was a Gentile. And they used to go around collecting together. And the Jew tells the Gentile, he says, you know what? Tonight is the most special night by the Jewish people. They have this custom, and they invite guests. That's the opening line of our Seder. We invite guests. So you go to the house, and you're going to have the most lavish feast. So just, put a head covering on, stand in the back of the synagogue with a book. You'll get invited in, and you'll have the best meal of your life. Okay. So the Jew goes to his meal, and he has an unbelievable meal. The Gentile goes to his meal, and afterwards they both meet back in the local wherever shul, and they're sleeping in the shul. And the Jew gets there, and the Gentile's already, lying on the bench, and he's cursing and he's screaming. What kind of crazy idea you had? Worst meal, worst night of my life. And he says, "What happened? What's going on? Tell me the story." So I get in there, and we start the meal, and I see there's vegetables there. I'm trying to take a piece, but I said, "No, stop! Only a small piece of celery." Okay, I eat the small piece of celery. Then they go on, they're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I want to eat. What do? They bring me this, I thought of, remember Jewish homes, they have beautiful bread, they give me these hard crackers, I got to stuff it down my throat, I'm choking, I'm coughing. Then, it was the story happened in Europe, Ashkenazim, they bring out the maror, they give me this horseradish, I'm gagging, I'm coughing, I can't, and I left. You Jews are crazy people. And the guy says, you left in another 5 minutes. You know what kind of, there was geese, and there was lamb, and there was veal. You left by the maror? You checked out at the maror? You missed everything. And the nimshal is, in our life, lo aleinu, everybody has a little maror. No one gets through life without maror. But don't check out by the maror. There's a whole shulchan orech, the whole meal is waiting for you. Don't check out at the maror. That is our lesson. That's the takeaway. We have to walk away from a seder, not just we ran through it. It would be a good idea if you spent some time and understood what every part, and you would mark off for yourselves something that talks to you. We have a little introduction here that mindsets, some of the thoughts that we said are here. And there's another powerful line. A lot of powerful lines. You can't get everything, but you should have a few takeaways that you want to make sure your family gets. He sha'amda lavotenu v'lanu. God's promise, He promised to us that the Jewish people will survive. And that's what's standing for us to this day. Shelo achad bilvad amad aleinu lachalotenu. Not just one. In every generation, they're trying to destroy us, and God saves us. There will be trials and tribulations, but the Jewish people will survive. I want to read to you, there's a rabbi called Rabbeinu Manoach. He's a Rishon, which means he lived 800 years ago. And it's a few lines. I'm going to read it to you in Hebrew and translate, because they're very, very powerful words. He says, what are we supposed to get from the night of Pesach? We're supposed to remember the story of Mitzrayim. And by remembering this, we will realize his constant hashgacha on the Jewish people. And I'll always have God on my mind. That's the main takeaway. God is watching over every individual, and I'm going to have him on my mind. He's taking care of me. V'im yetzar lo zmano ma'od. And even if he's going through a very difficult time, yiftach b'Hashem, he will not stop relying on God. Mikveh Yisrael, the one that the Jewish people hope to. Moshi'ol, the one that saves us be'et tzara. And he continues. And just like the exile of Egypt ended up causing us to have a wonderful ending, Kain kol hatzarot galut hazeh. Every tragedy that happens in this exile, it's a cause for God to bring good things on us eventually. How, what, when, where, we don't know. That's what emunah means. Emunah means I believe. I believe that just like there were Jewish children being put into bricks in Egypt and no one understood what was going on, to the point that Moshe Rabbeinu was questioning God, what's going on? There will be questions like that. But we that saw the end of the story, we saw that we got out of Egypt, we know that just like God took us out of Egypt, he will take us out of this exile. And that's the way you have to feel by the end of the Seder. You have to be pumped and psyched that God is taking care of me. He's taking care of the Jewish people. There are things I don't understand. There are things I will never understand. But I have to be like Rabbi Akiva. I have to be someone that gets so much strength in my Seder that not only am I inspired, but I can inspire other people as well. Because if I'm not bubbling, I can't make anyone else bubble either. And again, I want to end with the point that we thank Gail for being that inspiration, for being that bubbling pot who's inspiring everybody. Please take home this copy. The front says on it, the Sassoon edition. There's a dedicated memory of the Sassoon children. In the back, the well, live deeply, dedicated in honor of Gail, in appreciation for all that she does for the spreading of the Torah at the well. So Bezrat Hashem, we should all be inspired and make those important takeaways from the Seder. Emunah and Hakarat HaTov. Can someone please tell me my cell number? Anybody? What's my cell number?
673.
4.
I have it here.
Okay.